The baseball season is too long, and we've talked about this on numerous occasions on this pod about how it's too long. But when your team is in a playoff race, September baseball, there's really nothing like it. And the Jays right now are in the thick of things. I find myself watching it every night. I'm totally invested. Whereas the first 4 months of the season, I wasn't really at all. Um, I remember talking with you guys at the trade deadline if you thought that the Jays moves, if they were a little early, like should they have gone all in and traded top prospects for starting pitching? And now looking at it, even if they don't make the playoffs, I think it was the right move because this experience of being in this playoff race is going to do wonders for that young lineup. So I ask you guys, are you guys watching the Jays? Are you totally invested like I am? Bobby, I know you're a fake Yankees fan, but what are your feelings going into these last 12 games of the Jays season?
There is nothing like playoff baseball, and this constitutes playoff baseball. Like this might be more exciting than the one game playoff because your team might get into the wild card and get one game. So this stretch has been really exciting. I got my dad, who's like, my dad's a sports fan, but my dad's like, hey, what time the Jays playing? Or put the Jays game on. Like the Jays almost beat out the NFL. It didn't on Sunday, but it almost did it at the Casa Bottles over there. So, it's great. They're appointment watching now. This is what baseball needs to be. There's urgency. There's excitement. There's a reason it's the dog days of summer. But I, yeah, I'm loving what the Jays are doing. I wasn't sure they were going to make it, and then winning 10 in a row. They are in the driver's seat to make to make the playoffs. They're a really good team. I still don't know if the defense is good enough, but if that defense holds up, this is an AL finalist in my opinion.
Like if you're one of the other teams that's kind of locked a playoff spot already in the AL, so I'm talking about the Rays, the White Sox, and Houston.
Astros. Yeah.
Yes. You do not want to play the Blue Jays in the playoffs.
Well,
there's no chance you want to play them. So even if they don't make it, I think they've kind of ushered in a new optimism amongst the fan base where you're bringing a lot of people back into wanting to watch the Jays, almost like it was back in 2015. And if they allowed fans into the Rogers Center, more than 15,000, which they totally should, I think it's ridiculous that it's only 15,000 at this point, then that place would be rocking. That place would be full every night right now. And it's a shame that it's not. But leading the way for this team is Vladdy, who's in the conversation, the MVP conversation, and it's basically a two-horse race between him and Shohei Ohtani. Who do you think should win it?
Well, I think there's an argument for both sides here, right? You look at stats. Vladdy's having obviously a better offensive year in terms of pure stats. We're talking about first in batting average, first in home runs, or tied for first in home runs, third in RBIs, first in hits, first in OPS. Where Ohtani is more just he was leading in home runs for the longest time, but not a great average, so-so in RBI, I think the top 15. So from that, if you're talking about it from a hitting category, it's Vladdy all day. But the narrative here is the elephant in the room is the obvious thing. This whole idea that Ohtani is the modern day Babe Ruth, and that's a very marketable thing. It's kind of overhanging Vladdy because the guy pitches too, and he pitches quite well. So I think he has to win the Triple Crown, which is probably very hard to do as we sit today. He's quite a few back on the RBI, but you never know. But I think that's the only way he even gets a sniff of that, because I think it's just this whole idea that if he was Ohtani's a pitcher as well. But my other theory is what I told Joe was there's a pretty good chance that Robbie Ray is going to win the Cy Young. And I don't see Major League Baseball giving two major awards to two players playing in Canada, especially in Toronto. So there might be a political aspect to this, but no, I think this goes Ohtani's way.
Yeah, I think for sure it's Ohtani. Like, Vladdy should be the MVP. I'm a firm believer that I remember a few years ago when Verlander won the MVP, even though he had an unbelievable season. But my argument is the MVP is basically an offensive award. Like the pitchers have their own award, the Cy Young, which is maybe the most prestigious award you can win in baseball. The Cy Young, it's prestige. It's got so much that comes along with it that the fact that Shohei pitches is unbelievable. He's an unbelievable talent. He is the modern day Babe Ruth. But again, what are we giving him the award off of? That he pitches really well and he's got a lot of home runs and still not as many as Vladdy. Like Vladdy leads in almost every offensive category. He's got a chance for the Triple Crown, which has only been done like once in the last like 40 years. Like just saying, well, Ohtani pitches, okay, great. Like Vladdy sings show tunes. Like it shouldn't be effective into the MVP conversation because that MVP award should be an offensive award. We give the pitching award to the Cy Young, and then we give the MVP to like basically the best hitter and the most valuable hitter in baseball. So on that front, it should be Vladdy. He's not going to win for a few reasons. You know, I agree with Frank with two award winners going to Canada, but it kind of makes sense for baseball to give it to Shohei to almost like showcase this guy. The guy's not going to make the playoffs. I mean, he's going to finish like 30 games out of the playoffs. So Shohei's going to win, but Vladdy is putting up an all-time season and should be in there. You're on mute, buddy. You're on mute.
It's quite remarkable that they're both having these seasons at the same time. It's unfortunate also because one of them is going to lose the MVP race. Whereas if it was any other year, these guys would be slam dunks, right? And listen, Vladdy could win the Triple Crown, and we know Ohtani's team is not even close to the playoffs, and the Jays could make the playoffs. It's going to Ohtani because he is doing something that nobody has seen in 100 years. Nobody that is still alive today has seen someone do this. And when they did see someone do this, Babe Ruth, who was a pitcher also, he wasn't as good of a pitcher as Ohtani. So in that respect alone, it's going to him.
But like I agree. You hit on every point that both of them should like have any other year they both win. But if you were a writer, if you had a vote, who would you vote for?
I'd probably vote Ohtani. I'm not gonna lie.
Even from the
you know what?
Blasphemy.
How would you be upset if they actually gave it to both of them for like the first time ever?
Yeah, no, one guy. It's MVP.
Okay.
It's not most valuable players. It's most valuable player.
Fair enough.
You know, I it's just Vladdy's had an unbelievable season, and I just think he deserves it. I think he's been the best hitter all year. He's been the best player, and defensively, man, the guy's like really
he's
good.
Gotten a lot better. Yes, like, he's really worked on his game for sure.
Like I think we could argue in our basically limited of watching Jays baseball that he might be a top 10 defensive first baseman in the league amongst the starters. He's unbelievable. But yeah, they both had great years, but unfortunately Ohtani's gonna edge him out because of some of the ballots are probably already in.
Well, hopefully the Jays can take a playoff spot, and I'm sure Vladdy would rather have that anyway. So
I'd rather have a World Series than an MVP.
Absolutely.